Are you really digging for peace? Or is that just a lie you tell to help you sleep? Sure that you really want real behind all the stories they told. Steel remembers fire, grass remembers rain. Every scar tells a story carved out of pain. I'm here. Woo! Welcome to the Wrecking Yard. I am Jerry Wayne Longmire. Y'all, I presumably still y'all are welcome here in the Church of Internal Combustion. We just ask that you show up with an open heart. Woo, Lordy. Y'all, it's 1 o'clock in the p.m. on a Sunday, which means I am running quite behind. It's a busy week. I have a litany of excuses to tell you why I didn't get to taking care of all this week. None of them are that good. Just a busy week. Nothing worked out the way I wanted it to this week. Everything was topsy-turvy. Stuff going on. Had a show last night in Nacogdoches. We'll talk a little bit about that. And I got into town. I don't know. It was like 2 a.m. last night. And I was like, here's what I'll do. I'll set my alarm for 7 a.m. I'm going to get up. I'm going to finish writing podcasts. I'm going to finish writing Duwali Bottoms. And I had everything outlined, but I'm going to get up. I'm going to do all that, record at my normal time. And then when my alarm went off 7 a.m., Inner JW woke up and said, to hell with that podcast and to hell with Duwali Bottoms. Y'all can all kiss my ass. I'm going back to bed. And he did. Then I didn't wake up till nearly 10. And holy cow, I've been writing like a madman all morning on the porch. A little coffee. Get this all put together. Hopefully I get it edited and up in time. If not, I screwed up this week. But if so, hope you guys are here. Hope you guys are having a good time in the chat. Woo! Lord. Lord, Lord, Lord. What a life. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. It has been a week, ladies and gentlemen. I've been working on my avalanche, I bought the avalanche from David, and he offered me the opportunity. David, when we first talked about the avalanche, my concern, I was like, it's got 185,000 miles. So I know the transmission ain't got a lot. Those transmissions are good about 200K. And, I had one get 388K on a 4L60E. Like everybody, we've talked about that. People bash on the 4L60E. But GM put that damn transmission in everything. High production rates equal high failure rate. Every time. You're going to get a high failure number when you got high production numbers. That's just the way it works. It's the way manufacturing works. It's just the more you make of something, the more of them are going to break. But I'm a bit of a automatic transmission aficionado. I broke just about all of them, and they all break. I ain't found the magic one what don't break. You know what? I ain't never broke a C6. I had a C6 and a Ford behind a big block, and I run the dog piss out of that C6, and it never gave up the ghost. And it even had a broken ear on the bell housing that my father JB welded back together, and we sold that some 50. That JB weld was still holding strong. So I tell you, I never broke a C6. Boy, I broke A500s, I broke 4L60s, I broke 700Rs, I broke 350 turbos, I broke so many AODs. You can break them all. I'll tell you, David, so David's a master builder, right? David used to own transmission shops. And what David does now is he just builds for other shops. He kind of he backed out of that, some of y'all there, longtime listeners know his wife died unexpectedly. And it shook her. He has 2 little girls to raise. He couldn't spend all his time managing somebody else's shops anymore. He had to work on things for himself. And he's just a hell of a builder. He's so good at what he does, but he builds all the really the Subarus and all the really complicated stuff for a bunch of shops here in Houston, and constantly going. And he offered me this opportunity when I was buying the truck. He said, "Well," he said, "if you want," he said, when his main shop that he works at the most used to be, it was a shop he started. So it was a shop he owned on Shepherd, and he sold it to a guy that had a whole bunch of other shops. And then uh, in the time periods past since then, that guy's no longer involved, and that guy sold off all his shops. And one of the managers that worked underneath David ended up buying that shop. He's a really good dude. His name's Rob. You're gonna hear me talk more about him. Rob's a good guy. I like Rob. I like Rob a great deal. Rob's come to some shows, and I've had the opportunity to bullshit with Rob, and I just think he's a good dude. I really like him. I ain't got nothing to say about his management style or any of that kind of stuff because I don't know anything about it, and so I don't know what it's like to work for Rob. But Rob seems like a really good man. I like Rob, and buddy David and him obviously have a good working relationship. And David builds a lot of his units at Rob's shop there on Shepherd. So it's not technically David's shop, it's Rob's shop. David offered me this opportunity. He said, "Man, we'll take that transmission out and I'll teach you how to build it." He said, "It'll make good content. You can film it. I'll teach you how to build it. And I'm just going to tell you what to do. You're going to do it all yourself." It's fine, but that also takes a lot of time because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You know, I don't have a clue. I've only ever tried to build one transmission ever in my life, and it went really poorly. So I've never dove off into it again. I'm like most of you. It all looks like voodoo to me. Looking at the underside of a valve body is the most confusing thing in the world. It just like, how in the hell, who dreamed this horse shit up, right? What did? Because originally it just had to be some dude in his shop and was like, "I'm tired of shifting gears. Let me see if I can figure out a way to make this machine do it for me," and come up with the idea of a valve body and fluid pressure, applying clutches and drums and bands and all kind of just magical sorcery. David looks at, sees everything as it should be, exactly how it works. He's a brilliant person, brilliant man. Uh, just incredibly smart and memory like a steel trap. Dude can recite facts and figures and fluid pressures and stuff like that till the cows come home. Just really, he's one of the more intelligent people I've ever known in my entire life. There's a lot of people like, "Oh, the smartest guy in the room," but David really is most of the time the smartest guy in the room. Guarantee if it's just me and him in the room, he's the smartest guy in the room. Just really, I'm very blessed for his friendship and this opportunity. Doesn't mean it doesn't come without some drawbacks, and it's going to take longer, which sucks because I'm going to have a car longer. But that's just the way it goes. And if somebody's offering to do you a favor, we used to have, yeah, if somebody's offering you to do you a favor, you gotta kind of take that favor as they can give it. So at the same time that David's trying to help me do this, and Rob is graciously allowing me to hang out at his shop, even though I'm not an employee, and work on my transmission in his facility and use his resources as parts washer and all these things and David's resources and tools to do this. That's a pretty tremendous gift. It's not one to be looked at crossways. It's a tremendous gift. So last week, the week before last, I got to go up there on Friday. Took them. They're doing the R&R. They're removing the transmission, putting it back in for me. I told you, he gave me a deal on that. Somebody gives you a deal, you kind of got to wait till they can get around to do it. Rob's trying to keep a shop running and make money. My job ain't making him no money. So I have to wait when they can get to it and do it. And they were finally able to get to it and do it, pull the transmission. I went there Friday, and David taught me how to disassemble the transmission. Disassembling anything sounds easy. Taking something apart doesn't sound all that complicated, but disassembling an automatic transmission is a very complicated thing. There's snap rings and all kinds. You got to figure out what's holding what together and what order to take it all apart. Luckily, I had David to guide me through that process. Got it all disassembled, and then made a parts list. And we sat down. We talked about what all we were going to order for it. You know, we're going to put some hardened steel drums in it, and a stiffer shell, a better shell in it, and we're going to put a shift kit, a Transgo shift kit in it, which requires a bunch of work on the. There's like a little steel. I don't know what it's called, but the little plate between the valve body and the body of the transmission that kind of maintains fluid pressures and stuff. That you got to make some modifications, some machining modifications. That plate, the valve body, do a shift kit. But shift kit's supposed to kind of tighten the shifts a little bit, so you get a little less flaring between shifts, and a snappier grab on the clutches. Usually provide a little more. It's not for like racing or anything. It's just for. I mean, some shift kits are, but that's not what this is. We're not putting like a high stall torque converter and that kind of shit. That's not. This thing ain't gonna slam you in the seat or anything like that. We just want it shifted a little snappier, so we get a little more longevity out of the clutches and keep better fluid pressure, that sort of thing. Just get a little more longevity out of the transmission. I'm building this to be something to last. And we've had to replace some parts because the truck did sit for a while in a field. And this is wild to me that a transmission could get rust in it because it just doesn't sound likely. It sounds like this thing filled with transmission fluid, which is repellent to water and all that good stuff, in this closed, sealed unit. You wouldn't think moisture, but water's undefeated, right? Moisture and water's undefeated. When it's not being driven, that fluid's not being coated over all the parts. It's sitting, residing in the transmission, and it has a little vent, and that vent allows condensation, moisture to get in. You start getting. So I had some pieces we had to replace. We had to look at. There's a very long job of cleaning parts. It's a lot. There's over 250 moving parts that have to be disassembled, like, and probably 40 steel hard parts that have to be reused and cleaned up. So it's, and I like, I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm trying to clean everything the best I can, but I don't know how clean it's got to be or how clean it doesn't be. David gave me some chiding about my cleaning, told me I was fired, said I wasn't a very good cleaner. And I had to go back and clean some of my parts before we could do any kind of reassembly. But it was kind of a thing where, my schedule gets really busy at the end of the week, and his schedule's really busy at the beginning of the week. So, I couldn't go in there Monday because Monday's the day Rachel goes and does all the groceries and Costco and all that good shit, and the P.O. box and all that stuff. And I hang out with the kids and work on projects here around the house. And we only got the one car right now, so Rachel needs a car to go do all that. So I told Dave, man, last week, I said, if I can come in Tuesday, I got Tuesday and Wednesday free. Thursday, I take Junie to music lessons, and, we're down to one car, and I got to go to Friendswood. That takes a while. So Thursday gets eaten up with Junie's music lessons during the day. And Friday open, but also knew I had a show Saturday, and I was going to be gone most of the day Saturday. And I had other stuff I was trying to finish. I booked a commercial. I'm filming a commercial next week, and so I had to do some things to get ready for that, and a couple quick little auditions to get the part, and it's nothing glamorous. I'm playing a plumber, so it's a stretch. Showing off my range. I'm going to play a run-of-the-mill plumber handing somebody an invoice. So I'm putting my talents out there best I can, but it's quick cash, and it does go on my reel, and it gives me more experience and being on set, all that kind of, these avenues that I haven't done a lot of. I have to start at the ground floor, the writing, the literature, the acting, but it's exciting again. Comedy, I won't say this the wrong way, but it's not exciting anymore. I had something crazy happen to me on stage last night that's never happened to me. But comedy's not as exciting as it used to be. But it's what happens when you get really good at something. It gets less exciting. And I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I'm a good comic. And it feels more like this is just a thing I know how to do, and I'm real good at doing it, and I love doing it. But it's not like while I'm doing this literary stuff where it's like, oh, I'm the low man on the totem pole again. I get to build myself up, work myself up again. There's a joy in that. There's joy in being the low man on the totem pole and having to earn your rep again. So the acting and that kind of stuff's fun like that. Anyway, so had shit going on Saturday. Plus, we were going to leave to go to Nacogdoches, me and my opening act. Well, then Tuesday come around, and David got tied up with a problem car down at another shop, and we couldn't get together Tuesday and do stuff. And Wednesday come along, and he was like, "Hey, man, I got to run down to Pearland and check out this other car. As soon as I get back, I'll hit you up." And he hits me up. He's like, "Man," he goes, "I can't really go into it, but there's a lot of tension at the shop. There's an employee in the shop that things aren't going well between him and the manager, and there's a lot of tension in the shop. It's not a good day for you to be there and kind of be in the way." And I agree, right? They're already doing me this huge kindness. I'm like, yeah, of course not. Granted, the timeline sucks, but they're doing me this huge kindness, and I understand. I don't belong there, and I don't need to be there when shit's tense and there's stuff going on. It's like, all right. When he hit me up Thursday, and I don't expect him to keep up my schedule any more than I can keep up with his. I can barely keep up with mine, and I'm sure he has to work to keep up his. And he hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, you want to come in and work?" I said, "Man, I got to go to Friendswood, do stuff with my kid." I said, "Man, can I call you in the morning? Do you think I can come in Friday?" He said, "Yeah." So I called him Friday morning after I went to the gym and everything, and he said, "Hey," he said, "I'm about to go to breakfast with Rob, the guy who owns the shop, owner of the shop." So I'm gonna talk to Rob about it. There's still a lot of tension going on in the shop, but I'd like to get you in here working on your transmission. And calls me, he's like, "Everything's good, come up here, but just kind of stay out of the way. And if somebody says anything to you or whatever, just let me fight the fight. There's just a lot of tension. There's stuff going on. It's none of my business." It's fair. It isn't. Yes, sir. And this is the way of blue collar work. This is the way of trade work. There's often tension. There's often somebody who's not happy. There's often somebody who's on the verge of getting fired. There's often somebody who's on the verge of quitting. This is the way these things go. If you've worked these jobs, you understand. I understand. But did get in there Friday, and I cleaned all the parts. And it's a lot of work cleaning those parts. Cleaned all the parts, scraping all the little gasket with a razor blade off the bow body. And it's mind numbing, shitty work, but you got to do it. You got to do it right. Because otherwise, putting the transmission back together, things could go wrong. You don't have to build these things in a hermetically sealed environment, but do need a pretty clean unit to go back together with. A little piece of debris behind a check ball can burn up a whole unit and $1,000 worth of parts. Just like that. A little piece of gasket material stuck in a fluid passage. There's your investment in parts down the drain, and your R&R money down the drain. Because now you got to pull it again, build it again. I'm hoping not to have to do that. It's my first year. Even when I'm building under somebody else's guidance, I can still screw up and pinch an O-ring or do something. I'm having to really rely. It's a little anxiety inducing, because I don't know how I can screw up, but I can think of a million ways I can screw up. But I did get to build my first forward drum, and that was fun. And David kind of walked me through it. He's like, we started assembling it and checking all the clearances and matched my clutches up to my old clutches and started packing my clutch packs in my forward drum. And got it all put together. And I said, well, it feels a little loose in there. And he said, well, it's got to have, he said, we're looking for about 40 thousandths clearance. And showed me how to check that with my micrometer. Then while we was trying to check that, and when you put that forward drum together, on top of that forward drum, there's this big old fat snap ring. And when I tell you it is a first class son of a bitch to get that snap ring in, I mean it is a first class son of a bitch to get that snap ring in, especially when you don't know what you're doing. And you're not, I never did a bunch of work with snap rings, and a lot of this is new to me. So I'm fighting the snap ring, get it in there. We checked clearance. Something's wrong while he's trying to check clearance. He's like, "What's going on? How come the clutch is?" And then he looked down in the middle and realized I had not. There's a one directional roller bearing sprag that goes in the middle of all this that locks into clutches, and that's where you get your power, is when that sprag locks. That's what turns the clutches and applies pressure. And I had not put that whole piece in there. I had put the whole forward drum together and forgot that the quite literally the most important piece of the drum was sitting there to the side. So then I had to get that snap ring back out. Son of a bitch, get out. Take the drum back apart. Take the sprag apart. Replace the bearing in it. We had to Google it, make sure rotation was correct, and just to be sure, because you don't want to find out later after you get the transmission in that it doesn't go in forward. And then put that drum back together. And I had to leave at like 3 o'clock because I had to come back here, pick up Rachel and the kids, and then drive to Friendswood because Junie had a performance that night. Needless to say, end of the day, Friday, my ass was cooked. Also, I don't spend all day standing on the concrete floor anymore. And my old junk shoes I use for working in are old pair of Nikes, and one of them's deflated, got a hole in it from a branch. And by the end of that day, standing on that concrete floor, my feet were killing me. My back was in so much pain, like it hadn't hurt in a long time. All up in my shoulders. I gotta find some better work boots, work shoes, which is so funny because I just made a video making fun of work boots. But I just haven't been doing that kind of stuff in a while, and I'm kind of easing back into it and getting my body in shape. And boy, it still told me I got a long way to go, buddy. The old back is still kind of jacked up. Being bent over that parts washing machine just lit up everything that was wrong with it. So I had to do some more stretching before I go back in there this coming week. Hopefully, I'll get some days this week, go in there and build the next, the 3/4 clutch drum, and get the rest of the rotating assembly put together so we can start working on the valve body. Because, like I said, there's a little bit of machining, but you want to do all that before you put the rotating assembly in, so that you're not getting shavings and shit all up in the rotating assembly. Uh, at the same time, David's teaching me this stuff. He's rebuilding units, taking units apart, dealing with customers' questions, dealing with Rob's questions about units, checking out other cars. Has to answer his phone and all his other clientele and deal with them and order parts and all that stuff. So I have to wait till he's unengaged so that he can tell me stuff. And I can't be interrupting him and shit like that. I'm not trying to. I'm trying to stay out of his way best I can because I know man got to make a living doing this thing. And I'm gracious for so many things about David. David's one of the better friends I've ever had in my life. And been friends with David about 18 years now, 19 years. I met David before me and Rachel were together when I was pursuing her. He rebuilt transmission in my Ford Contour about 5 times because I kept breaking it. But you don't. David stuck his neck out for me, helped me so many times, it's not even funny. Like, you guys just don't. When I first started my construction business, my remodeling business, David gave me a big old job to start me off with. He bought a rent house, and everything on that job didn't go great because I was still new to running a business. And David stuck by me through the whole thing and did right by me, like when I didn't even deserve it. And it helped me get my business off the start and buy a lot of my initial tools and equipment I needed. And then many years later, when I blew the transmission up in my Jimmy, David gave me $1,200. That truck wasn't worth $1,200. He gave me $1,200 for that truck to help me out. Truck wasn't worth $1,200. Had 388,000 miles on it. There wasn't much of it left. I had run the dog piss out of that truck. He's just one of those people you can count on. And likewise, when everything happened with this house and we decided we had to move into it, David let me borrow 30 grand to come in here and do as much remodeling as I could before I moved my family in this place. And it's been very gracious while I've been paying it back. If I've been late on a payment or something, he's just always been really cool. He just helped me out. He's a good dude. Now he's doing it. Gave me a really good deal on that Mazda when I bought that Mazda. Gave me a really good deal on my Avalanche. Like, I ain't gonna tell y'all how good a deal he's giving me on my Avalanche, but it's criminal. It's criminal price he gave me on the Avalanche. It's a really clean truck. It's a really solid truck that I can utilize for many, many years. Having the parts truck donor bonus. And now he's helping me rebuild the transmission for it. And it's turned into, more than we thought because the differential was bad and things like that. And there's extra complications. And also having to deal with everything going on at this shop that doesn't belong to either one of us in the process. Dave's one of the most amazing people I've ever known. The way that he rose to the occasion. His wife, Melina, was one of the coolest people in the world. She was a really unique lady, really intelligent, really fun to talk to, always fun to hang out with. I really, me and my wife thought the world of Melina. We were there for David's wedding. David was in my wedding. We were there for his wedding right after Junie was born. When David became a father, I couldn't be more happy for him. When he became a father the second time, I was doubly happy for him. When Melina died, it was the scariest thing because it wasn't anything anybody could have seen coming. She had a weird reaction to some medication during when COVID was going on and hospitals were already a mess and everything was going to hell. In the peak of COVID, she had a abnormal reaction to a medication and it took her from David and her children very quickly. So fast nobody could stop it. Within a day, it took her from her family. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. Because I don't know what I would do without Rachel. I mean, I like to think I would rise to the occasion, but I'm not sure I could do it with the grace he has. I don't believe that. It's terrifying to see something like that happen. Somebody so close to you, it's scary. You almost think you can get it, Like this happened to him, he could happen to me. It's scary. It's scary as shit. Scared the shit out of me. It wasn't David doesn't know this, but it wasn't very long after that we had a scare with Rachel where we thought something was going on with Rachel, and I gave myself so much anxiety about it. I thought I was having a heart attack. Turned out to be an anxiety attack, but tell you the pain was real. I really thought something was going wrong in my system. And I know it was a result of my fear about all this, about when something happens that close to you, you're like, shit, that could happen to me tomorrow. You know, anything could happen. Car wreck, anything could happen. And I'd be left trying to make sense of a world that didn't have her in it. And I'm just not 100% sure I can make sense of that world. That man has a great deal of strength. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So I'm very grateful for this gift he's given me. I always tell you guys the best gift you can give somebody is time, your time, and he's given me his time to do this. So I do have to work around his time frame. I have to. You can't rush somebody that's doing you a favor, regardless of whatever you're worried about. You can't rush that. We used to have a saying when I was in business. We used to have a saying in my company that it's like you can have a job done one of three ways. You can have fast and good, but that don't come cheap. You can have cheap and fast, probably ain't gonna be good. And you can have cheap and good, but that damn sure don't come fast. That comes on my schedule when I can get to it. And that's how these things work. That's how these relationships work. That they have to work that way. But it was scary watching him go through it. It was scary. I knew it scared my friend. I got to see my buddy Terry Smart Jr. I've told y'all stories about Terry Smart Jr. I got to see Terry Smart Jr. this weekend. Man, we must have hugged each other 6 times. I missed that son 50 so much. God, it was good to see. And he's just been through it. And to see him smiling and looking good and feeling good, it was just, it brought me so much joy. But likewise, when I got hurt falling off that roof, my contractor friends I told that story on stage this weekend. I don't often tell the whole story about, Mr. Kent coming over and replacing the air conditioner and Terry and his dad bringing fans and stuff because the AC blew out right after I fell off a roof and broke my brain. And Mr. Kent mowed the yard before he left that day and washed my wife's car because it scares contractors to see that happen to another contractor because we've all gotten comfortable at work and we've all seen that happen to somebody. And it's scary because you go, shit, that makes it real. That could happen to me. And you can tell yourself, oh, he was being unsafe. He was doing this. You can do that shit people do in the comments on videos about work. You can do that if you want. But we all know deep down inside, we look at that and go, shit, that could happen to me. And that's scary. Same thing with David and Melina. Things become real. It's scary. But it is fun learning something and working on this transmission. I am learning some stuff, and it is really interesting to me. It's wildly interesting to me. I hope I do a good job on it because I'd like this transmission to last a long time. But there was tension in the shop because come Friday about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I was getting ready to leave, there was a bunch of noise out of the owner's office, followed by a few slamming doors and a dude packing up his tools. And calls being made to replace the guy. That's how the blue collar world works. It's simple. You're not owed anything. Texas is a right to work state. You can get fired just for having the wrong look on your face coming in the door. And some people are like, oh, it's horrible because workers have no rights. And I do get that argument, but the flip side of that coin is there's a freedom to it. There's a freedom to it. And but clearly there was tension. There was tension going on. And Saturday, I got up, was supposed to work on this stuff. I didn't. I did other things. And then my good buddy Nathaniel Amador picks me up. We head up to Nacogdoches. Nathaniel's going to open for me. He's a fantastic comedian. I've been working with him since I came back to comedy. We used to do all the Jesse Payton shows and all that shit and all the local shows here in town. And I've always liked Nathaniel. He opened for me at the Punchline. If you saw me at the Punchline in Houston, he's a fantastic human being and really funny guy, young father, good father, uh, young husband. I think he's a good husband. Adore his wife, Uraldi, is just a fantastic human being. Such a fantastic human being. She just surrogated for somebody, which I imagine. I don't know the perspective of a woman or what it's like to hold a baby that came out of you and then hand it to somebody else, but it's got to be a Sisyphean task. It's got to be one of the most difficult things you could ever do. And she did this for a couple that wanted a child that could not have one on their own. And what a marvelous, yeah, I know there's finances and stuff involved, but what a marvelous gift. There's no amount of money in the world that could ever make up for that. The good people. Enjoyed being in the car with Nathaniel. We talked about many things. We talked about God and politics and just all the things that we don't often talk about in public. We talked about all the things, our feelings about other comics, our feelings about the nature of the industry and which way it's headed. And there's so much otherism out there right now, and it's real strong in comedy. There's comics trying to blacklist each other about their politics, and both sides. There's just so much of that shit going on, and it's just so gross. And I'm just like, can we just? I said as a boy, if otherism came in a powder form, there'd be even more deviated septums in the green room. Right? There's already a bunch, but it was nice to talk all that out with somebody. And my thoughts are always, can we just chill on this shit? Can we just chill and groove together for the last remaining 3 to 5 years that we have left before some faction or corporation owns everything like we're all afraid of, because or the sun gets tired of our bitching and just decides to vaporize the earth. I don't know how many years we got left, but can we just enjoy them? Can we just get together and enjoy them? Just do some good stand up and not do all this bullshit. I don't know. It's fun to be in a car with a fellow comic that I enjoyed talking to. And the Lamplight Theater in Nacogdoches was tremendous, bro. We had, I don't know, like 180 tickets sold. There were many open seats in that place. And it's a beautiful little theater. And it's kind of like a secretly BYOB place. Like, it's just like, if you bring it in your pocket, we ain't going to say nothing about it type place. They don't have a liquor license. So it's kind of like a down home get together. You know, why God don't tell me it's BYOB. And it's a fantastic little city theater that is completely operated by a group of people who are all not only actors there at the theater that put on plays and shows year round, but it's a labor of love for them. They love this place and they keep it. It's a nice theater. It was brilliantly beautiful showroom. Shout out to Nacogdoches for having the only wireless mic in the history of wireless mics that doesn't cut out before a punchline or screw up when you get too close to a monitor on the stage. That I hate wireless mics, but theirs worked perfectly. And Nathaniel went out there and whooped them people. Went out there and gave them 30 minutes of fire. I was so proud of him. Did a hell of a job. He brought me out on stage, and I did something a little. I told some more personal stories this time. I was just so excited to be in front of that crowd, and especially kind of being off for a month. It was felt good to be on stage, and it was a great show. It was a great show. I did everything I wanted to do. I got everything out there I wanted to get. We had a good time with a good bunch of people, a bunch of strangers in the dark, having fun, laughing at my ridiculousness. There's something odd. I got bored on stage, and that's never happened to me before. There was a point in time where I was up there about 40 minutes in the set, and kind of you're always thinking about the next bit. You're always thinking about the next where you're going next, where you're going. It's a complicated process. You're talking, you're expressing ideas, you're reading the room, you're reading laughter, you're checking how much more laughter you got before you got to move into the next bit, not to step on the laughter, but also thinking about the next place you're going. And when I realized how much I had to still get through, I kind of like, there was just a little piece of me was like, oh, I'm not done yet. And I was like, bro, that's not the way we should ever feel on stage. And I'm sure that's a symptom of being off for a month and being lazy. But it had never happened to me. It kind of pissed me off while I was on stage. I was like, no, hell no. This is my thing. This is my thing I love to do. We ain't going to do all that, you know. So I had to Had to realign my mind in a quick second and jump into the next bit with good enthusiasm so that it played well. Great bunch of people. I met some really amazing fans, uh, and have received a few emails and response. People had a great time in the show, and I'm just so thankful. I will definitely, that place will be back in rotation. That was wonderful. I hope we have the same great experience in Austin this coming week. uh, let's wrap this thing up right here. I ain't trying to cut it short on you guys, but I got to get Duwali Bottoms done, and then we'll do some testimonials, and we'll close out with a little sermon, and we'll get on with our Sunday. How about that? How about that? Catch me outside. How about that? All right, let's go. That just tickles the shit out of me. David gave me that. That just tickles the shit out of me. He saw that at a swap meet. Thought I needed to have it. That just tickles the shit out of me. Anyway, let's return to Duwali Bottoms, Texas. Shimmering waves of iridescence rose from the asphalt parking lot of Laird Hospital. The dull red brick of the main building did its best to absorb the fiery torch of a late July sun as the aging air conditioning units played their grinding chorus in their Sisyphean task to keep the innards of the place cool enough to keep the patients and families comfortable. Carl Jr. was healing well, but his surgeon had kept him under close observation after such traumatic blood loss, but was optimistic he could return home soon. Alana, his mother, spent most of her days at the hospital trying to keep her son's spirits up. In the evenings, Carl Sr. would come and sit with the boy in her stead after closing his shop for the day. Him and the boy would talk about the repairs he had done during the day, the customers, anything to fill the silence that didn't involve the old man having to reconcile his own feelings about almost losing his firstborn. Alana sat in the waiting room while the nurses changed some of Carl Jr.'s dressings. She sighed when she saw Tiffany's red convertible Super Beetle pull into the parking lot. The girl had come every day for weeks, and her son had refused to see her every time. Tony had come by a few times before taking the message to heart. Tiffany approached her immediately upon entering with a paper sack in her hand. "Hey, Mrs. Haines, my mama packed you some egg salad sandwiches. We know you have to be tired of hospital food by now." Lana took the bag graciously, looking at the young girl, whose face clearly showed she had shed tears before coming in. "Your mother's a sweet lady, Tiff. Thank you. Carl's getting his dressing changed, but seems to be in good spirits today. As soon as they're done, I'll go back and let them know you're here." The girl looked hopeful, and it put a strain on Alana's heart. It reminded her of the way she felt waiting for the postman every day Carl Sr. had been in Vietnam. A ruddy-faced nurse in a hurry with a cigarette on her mind walked up and touched Alana's shoulder. "He's all fixed up if you'd like to go back," before making a beeline for the sun-scorched parking lot and the freeing rush of nicotine. Alana patted Tiffany on the arm. "Let me go back and tell him you're here, honey." Carl Jr. looked up as his mom entered the room. He eyed the paper sack with suspicion. "She's here again." Alana took a cool rag from the basin by his bed and wiped his brow. "Baby, that girl ain't going to quit coming here till you talk to her or her parents ship her off kicking and screaming." "I know, Mom." Alana smiled and squeezed his hand. "Baby, I don't know what happened between you two. Truthfully, it ain't none of my business. But I do think it would be better for both of you if you talked." "Mom," Alana cut him off quickly. "Just listen. Your mama's talking. I know you're mad as hell about something, but I also know that girl loves you. She's loved you since y'all was riding your bicycles in the driveway. And I don't know what she done wrong, but she's been here every day, baby. Carl Jr. couldn't help but smile a little at his mom's interruption. Can't you just talk to her, baby? I don't know how many more egg salad sandwiches I can eat out of politeness. You know her mama can't cook to save her life. He chuckled in spite of himself. Okay, okay. Just for you, Mama. Atlanta smiled. It was no secret to her who run the Haines household. She stood and smoothed her dress. I'll go let her know and try to find someone to pawn this sandwich on while you have her distracted. When she walked back into the waiting room, the young girl looked up through wet eyes. She'd clearly been crying behind a magazine she wasn't interested in. Tiff, honey, he said you can go back, but go easy on him. He's still in a lot of pain. Carl Jr. was staring at the ceiling when she walked in. He was afraid to look at her, afraid he still loved her too much to stand his ground and still be angry. Red. His resistance broke immediately hearing her voice. He couldn't help but look into her eyes. He knew her crying face, had consoled her many times when her father had lost his temper over some little thing. Still, he tried to stay furious. Why do you keep coming, Tiff? She was shocked by his curt question, but pressed on. Taking a few steps closer to the hospital bed, she squeezed her hands together till her knuckles turned white, trying to resist touching his arm. Because I had to see you. I had to tell you in person that you and Tony were together. His interruption was spat out a little harsher than he'd meant. What? No, I'm not interested in Tony. I never was interested in Tony. Carl closed his eyes and grimaced. You sure seemed interested at the creek. You know what, Red? I cried over us for weeks, and Tony offered to give me a ride to the creek. And yes, I went. I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to be not sad for 2 minutes, but he's our friend. Your friend, you mean? His eyes were still closed. Carl Haines. Tiffany's sharp tone made his eyes open wide. Tony's been your best friend since we were kids. Don't do that. Be mad at both of us if you want to. He ain't never had nothing, not like us. He was excited about his car and you were ignoring him. I'm sorry that it looked like that, but there ain't a boy in this town I'd stay here for except you. Carl straightened himself in the bed a little, digesting her words. His stitches pulling at his healing skin, he spoke slowly. You are leaving, though. Tiff didn't answer, but she lost the resistance to touch him. She placed her hand on his arm and nodded, her light blue eyes welling with tears. Carl put his other hand on top of hers. I'm sorry. It's all right. As much as I don't want to get it, I get it. She looked surprised. I've had a lot of time to think about it all, laying here. I know why you got to get out of here. I've even thought about going with you, but I don't know how to be nowhere else, and I don't want to be nowhere else. I think I got so angry because I just needed something to be angry at. I didn't want it to be you. I've always known Tony had a crush on you. I've always known the way he looked at you, and I can't even be mad at him because if things were reversed, I'd be the same way. I'd want you for myself. She smiled through her tears. Will you promise to forgive me one day? His eyes welled up this time. I already did, Tiff. The night you broke up with me. I knew even then you wasn't running from me. Tiff threw her body down across his. Red, he almost came off the bed and groaned loudly. Oh my God, your stitches, I forgot, as she straightened quickly. It's okay. Just go slow. He tried his best to smile through gritted teeth. She reached out and stroked his fiery red hair. I wish I wasn't leaving so soon. He did his best smile through the pain. I wish I hadn't waited so long to talk to you. Want to go for a motorcycle ride? They both laughed until their faces turned crimson. Well, let's just enjoy today, she whispered into his ear before kissing his cheek. The two young people talked well into the evening, past visitor hours, the ruddy faced nurse giving them grace and extra time, and enjoying the extra smoke break it provided. Carl Sr. was unexpectedly met by his wife when he stopped by the house to change before going to the hospital. Stay home tonight. Carl Jr. has plenty of company. He finally spoke to Tiffany. He was damn surprised, but happy to have the respite. It had been a long day at the shop, and those hospital chairs were hell on his sciatica. He happily followed the beautiful woman he married into the kitchen for maybe the first peaceful evening at home since his boy had wrecked that motorbike. The old clock in Carl Sr.'s shop had just struck 2 a.m. when the back door began wiggling in its frame. The tip of a crowbar working the padlock hasp until it snapped with a sharp metallic click. Whispers could be heard as the door opened. 3 sets of tennis shoes entered the door, and 3 sets of hands began grabbing whatever equipment wasn't nailed down. Chainsaws, tools, anything of value. One of those sets of hands took a screwdriver and jimmied the antique cash register drawer open before scooping out the reserved cash under the drawer. One of the voices, "Let's go." Hold on. That set of hands opened the door to Carl Sr.'s office. That set of hands knocked everything down off the walls and everything off the desk before grabbing the snub-nosed 22 from the desk drawer that Carl Sr. kept there just in case. In the darkness, the sounds of a zipper going down could be heard before the stream of urine began splattering on all the knocked down belongings and wrecked office. Let's go. Okay. The sound of hurried footsteps came before a poorly timed Ford V8 coughed itself to life and lugged away in the darkness. Tune in next week for more from Duwali Bottoms, Texas. It's getting deep. What comes next, you reckon? What comes next? Think we all know Tony's crossing some lines, though. Oh, my goodness. Let's do some testimonials, and we'll wrap this thing up and get out of here for the day. I got them pulled up right here. Let's see. At MTHIB 90210. At this point in your comedy career, there are types of venues you won't go to, like Whiskey Wednesdays at the local dive bar, or a coffee shop that happens to have a stage. As always, great episode, JW. You know, man, I've just done so much of that stuff, and it's not that I look down on it. I just don't want to do it anymore. I have burned my voice out hollering my jokes at bar shows, burned my voice out in terrible environments trying to do stand-up comedy, and it's exhausting and it's not rewarding. So I try to avoid those environments. I prefer little small theaters or even a comedy club where it's set up. Stand-up comedy requires an environment. It requires the ability to hear the speaker and less noise distractions. You don't want pool tables going. You don't want bar noise going. Outside venues are terrible because motorcycles and cars and doing comedy outside's awful. The acoustics are terrible. The laughter just floats up into nothingness. It's nothing to contain it all and keep the rhythm. You'll always see a better show when you see stand up done in its correct environment. So I do try to avoid those now. I mean, every once in a while I do some private. I'm doing a private gig in April, and I'm telling you, it is going to be the absolute worst environment for stand up comedy, and it is going to be a 45-minute battle where I want to scream the F word the whole time, but can't because it's a corporate event. So I do try to avoid those. I still end up having to do them sometimes, but I do try to avoid them. At Sorry, allergies are screwed up so bad. At Dave is not here. Dave's not here, man. Dave's not here. I don't even remember what Cheech and Chong album that was, but God, me and one of my teenage friends laughed like morons. Dave's not here, man. Great podcast, JW. I listened to this one today on Monday while I was laying in bed after surgery. I saved it for day on purpose, but truth be told, I can rarely listen on Sundays due to my job, so I'm always a few days late. I really love the way you tell a story, and it kind of hit home when you said us guys in our 40s and 50s never were really planned to be here. That, sir, is fact. I have you by about 7 years. I guess laying here recovering, and when I heard that, I was like, yes, sir. I remember saying 30 was old. Hell, I'm here barreling like Wile E. Coyote in a cartoon off a cliff towards 60 and thinking, damn, younger me is collecting IOU I took out on older me, not intending on to ever have to pay back. I found you because of the truck astrology, because I'm a bump side lover. God bless you, sir. You're a good Christian soldier. And a lover of all things automotive. Hopefully next time you're out west in Arizona, I can catch a show live. But for now, I will just subscribe and be entertained with the videos and the podcast. Thanks so much for listening, man. I hope you recover quickly. I don't know what kind of surgery you're having, Dave. Or if you're not Dave, I'm not sure if Dave is there or not. Hope you recover quickly, man. Yeah, I feel it all the time. I'm cashing. My younger me cashed a bunch of checks that older me wrote and didn't know he was writing. Do it when I was working in that shop all day the other day. Boy, my back was killing me. My feet were hurting so bad I almost couldn't stand it. You know it's bad when you start doing that flamingo shit, trying to stand on one foot and lean against something, lift yourself up on your toes. Hope you get well soon, Bubba. Thanks for the wonderful testimony. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. At Jack Franklin, G9I. Man, last week's Duwali Bottoms, that's the tongue twister. Man, last week's Duwali Bottoms episode had me. I imagine what I'd do to the fella that hit that boy in the jaw. Oh, Tom. I think we'd all like whoop Tom's ass. I love a good story. Music has lost its luster, and I find this to be good for me. Oh, and one more thing. I found out the word I can't say, is pronounced Epictetus. Well, that's good to know. I read it myself being a North Carolinian. I botched it too. Well, thanks for that. Epictetus. I like Epictetus better because it just sounds more final, but Epictetus it is. Yeah, don't matter what you call him. The man knew what the shit he was talking about. He went from slave to a free man. He had some time on his hands to investigate the philosophy of man and why we feel the way we feel about things, and he was real good at it. Good old Epictetus. Thank you for watching, sir. Hope you keep tuning in to Duwali Bottoms. We're going to get to the bottom of all this eventually. Then we're going to start a new season of Duwali Bottoms. And we're going to find out more about this crazy shit-ass little town. All righty, let's wrap this up for the day. Hopefully I can get this edited and up in time. Do everybody some good. There's a kind of freedom in blue-collar work. In the trades, you don't live under the illusion that anything is permanent. Office folks spend their lives worried about layoffs and downsizing. In our world, you always knew the deal. You worked till the job was done. Then you went looking for the next one. Nobody promised you Monday. Hell, sometimes you get fired on a Friday and be hired someone else before supper. I knows I done it. And when work was good, half of us would cross the street for another $1 an hour without thinking twice. I've been accused often of having an axe to grind about that life, but I don't. I love it enough to talk about it honestly. I'm grateful I had to work. I'm grateful I knew how to earn. I wish somebody had impressed upon me sooner what it cost, how fast you can wear your back and your knees down to nothing chasing $1, how easy it is to get comfortable doing something dangerous every day. There ain't nothing that sobers a man quicker than seeing another man get his business broke on an ordinary day. No storm, no warning, just a ladder or a lift or a load that shifted wrong. And suddenly all those risks you've taken feels quite real. I guess all I hope is that if you're a young person and you're fixing to build yourself a life with your hands and your back and your skill set, I just want you to be smarter than we were. Wear the knee pads, wear the earplugs, wear the damn safety glasses, stretch in the morning, and don't show out for nobody, especially if they ain't signing your check. I want you to go out there and earn. I want you to go out there and chase your dreams. I want you to go out there and do the things that mean something to you. I just want you to be smart about it. I am rooting for you. Everybody here at the record, we're all rooting for you. That's the way this works. I root for y'all. Y'all root for me. I'm rooting for you. I just want to see you survive it. I'm JW. I love you. Ooh, forgot to take my own air sign off. Boy, it's kind of wild being in that shop when old boy got fired. Remind me of how simple that life was. There's a simpleness about that. It makes me mad because I don't get into politics, talk about that shit with y'all, but I watch it. I watch these videos, these town council meetings, and people getting thrown out of them for saying bad words and all this decorum and bullshit. And I watch the news stories about people in county positions and law enforcement and stuff getting away with shit, never getting fired because union makes it hard to fire people. HR makes it hard to just fire people. Boy, I just sometimes wish it was just as simple as blue collar work. I wish we could look at these politicians just on a Friday afternoon. But you're fired. Get your shit and get out of here. The world might be a better place if everybody could just be fired on a Friday afternoon and have to figure it out before Monday. Because by God, it'll keep you straight as a blue collar man. Knowing it is a fine line between having a good day and getting your ass canned on a Friday. I ain't saying it's a perfect system. I ain't saying there ain't flaws in it. But boy, by God, would it straighten some people up if they can get their ass. Boy, can you imagine if the sheriff had to worry about getting his ass run off on a Friday, how much different he'd act? Can you imagine how much different the railroad commissioner would act if he could get his ass fired on a Friday? How much different the governor would act if he could get his ass fired on a Friday? The mayor, any of them. They could all get it. Well, if we could just shit can them on a Friday afternoon and have them replaced by the end of the day, woo, buddy, I'm telling you, the world would run a little differently. I promise you it would. I promise you it would. Like I said, I ain't saying it's perfect. I ain't saying it was a perfect system. People get caught up in it and chewed up, but by God, there was a simplicity to it. I don't know that it would be terrible if everything worked like that. That's all wishful thinking, I'm sure. Hey, thank you guys for sharing your Sunday with me. I am exhausted. I'm gonna go edit this, try to enjoy the rest of my Sunday, and before the week starts all over again. Hope some of you get to come out and see the show in Austin. Uh, I love you guys. I really do. I say it every week. I mean it. Really, this has given me a place to explore and kind of figure out everything that's wrong with me too. And that's a gift that y'all have given me, and I do not waste it. Even the days where everything feels rushed and hurried, and I'm trying to get this thing together for y'all. It's a labor of love that I enjoy doing because you guys have given me the gift of your time. So go out there, have a great week, chase your bag, slide around obstacles like you some bitch in Teflon, baby. All right. Get up Monday, take a shower, wear a shirt that makes you feel good. Go out and kick this week in the ass. Y'all be safety. Don't fall off no roofs. Don't fall off no ladders. Don't hang off no shit acting crazy trying to cut a minute at a time. And I'll see you here next Sunday and we'll do this all over again. I love you.